the average intelligence of the average user is just so much higher than these other platforms. So we can help kind of flesh out people's ideas and make them actually do well. But my advice to my younger self was, long story short, my first real success, I did a little bit of success. I was like Facebook drop shipping, and this was 3 years ago, right before like the whole NFT thing. So I did a little bit of Facebook drop shipping. I rolled that money into what was called NBA Top Shot.
Yep.
And NBA Top Shot was my breakout into the NFT scene. Rolled that into like NFTs. I made 6 figures in NFTs.
Shit.
Well, no, it gets worse. And I tried to roll that into like Amazon automation and repeated the same bad habits of just jumping from thing to thing. Rolled that into like this Amazon automation store, lost like 20K. Rolled that into like something else, also lost a bunch of money. Long story short, I moved to New York City with the money and I ended up with zero. And that was like 2021 or 2022. So basically started back from zero in 2022, and I was like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, okay, well, I know marketing, I know like info, and I know all these things. Let me just like go on Twitter and scroll a little bit. And that's when I kind of got introduced to copywriting. So I started copywriting on Upwork for like $20 for blogs. And then eventually I discovered, who is my now co-host / friend, JK. And I saw him talking about ghostwriting. I was like, okay, ghostwriting, copywriting, it's like kind of, it seems like a hot thing. I was still kind of falling into the trap of jumping from thing to thing. I was just jumping from copywriting to ghostwriting. I was like, okay, it works out. Long story short, I joined like this low ticket $50 a month community. I basically copied his offer verbatim. It was like $25K for like 10,000 followers, and you basically be ghostwriting for people. I never actually closed that number. I ended up closing like a 1K a month client, a couple of 1K a month clients. One was through Upwork, one was through Twitter DMs. And then eventually I closed like a 6K for like 5K followers like 3 times. And then from there, it just kind of kept snowballing. Elon acquired, and then I just kept iterating the offer. And that's kind of like the origin story.
So, because I mean, shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know any entrepreneur that has not experienced that. What would be your 30 seconds of advice to the person that's listening to this right now that's probably on their 5th business?
Yeah, it's sad because like I never learned the lesson. I just finally, like the biggest thing my biggest attribute was that I didn't quit.
Yeah.
Because it ultimately took me, 5-6 years to really get something that worked. Ultimately, like this company was just the first one that really worked on a consistent basis, which I was like, okay, I'm going to hold on for this for dear life. And the reason that worked out is because I didn't quit over those 5-6 years, and I never had a 9-to-5. So like, that's probably like how I succeeded. But my advice to my younger self was stick to the first thing, because it all works, right?
Yeah.
You see a drop shipping millionaire, and you see a day trading millionaire, and then you see a ghostwriting millionaire. Like you see all these people, and they all work, but the problem is people don't stick to one. So I'd say like, honestly, I would take a personality test, figure out where my strengths are. Like for example, I'm an INFP. My strengths are writing and arts. So I would have done that, would have picked copywriting, would have just stuck with it at like 20. So
in like watching some of your old interviews, talking to you now, mentorship courses were a huge part of your success.
Yeah.
Sometimes courses and paid mentorships get a bad rap. What has your experience been, and what would you tell somebody who's on the other side of the camera saying, well, I'm not going to pay somebody $1,000 to learn this?
This is a tough one, right? Because we work with a lot of people who sell courses and education and cohorts and mentorships and stuff like that. And I'm really passionate about the space. I don't even sell one. I don't want to sell one, but I do love the space because it kind of is the reason I am here. I'd say like the filter that I've developed at this point is that, I mean, for one, and for what your question was, like skepticism's fine, but I wouldn't, as long as it doesn't like deter you from like kind of actually chasing your dream. But I think the big thing for me as like a filter is going to someone who is practicing what they preach actively. Because what I see a lot of times is people who come out with these coaching programs is they're selling a coaching program on something they're not doing anymore. And their information becomes very outdated very fast. And one thing nowadays with internet money and online businesses, every industry is changing so fast and so rapidly. You actively have to be in it to truly give good information. So if you're going to buy one of these info products, I think you should be going to someone who's actively doing the thing, and then they're also doing the info business. So like, you know, if you're going to go buy, what's a course that you would buy? I don't know, a podcasting course, right? That person better have a fucking podcast.
Yeah.
It better be a good one, right? So that's how I would use it as a filter.
Yeah. So essentially, like, if I'm looking to buy an ecom course and that guy doesn't own an ecom company,
right?
anymore.
Like a lot of times it's like they did ecom to make their first 50K, but now they've done the ecom course to make their next 5 million.
Yeah, and they're not.
It's a huge red flag. But you know, not everyone has common sense. But I mean, like if someone is actively, there are some people out there that are actually crushing. I'll even shout him out, like Robert Oliver, I think it is. He's got this Amazon brand.
Yeah.
Crushing it, right? 30 mil exit, crushing it currently. But that's a course I would buy if I was starting.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't work with him, by the way. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But you could say that for a million different courses. There's tons of good ones, but the problem is probably more bad ones.
Yeah.
So I think that there needs to be a free course on how to actually find good courses. I actually thought about this was a good idea as a marketplace for vetted courses. Not something I'm going to do. That's shiny object syndrome.
Yeah,
but someone should do it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like more of like a filtered down school or a filtered down WAP.
Right.
You have to meet certain requirements to be on that platform, not anybody and everybody.
Well, I think the real problem is that these companies like WAP and School, they're not exactly incentivized to do the vetting.
Yeah.
But ideally they would. It'd be cool, right, if School and WAP were able to deny. Well, they are able to, but it would be cool if they actually did deny people that were scams.
Yeah.
Like if enough people reported scam, but then, you know, it's a slippery slope. So I think the only practical way is probably like an application system. But yeah,
That's not
the industry's not there yet, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I think, where the industry needs to go. I mean, you know, you have Trustpilot, but then again, it's kind of hard to do Trustpilot right away. So
shit, somebody listening, go build a whole personal brand on buying every course and reviewing it and telling people if it's shit or not.
that's actually something I've always wanted to do, is like just 60-day challenges on these courses, or like
take them.
But then the problem is a lot of times these these biz ops, they're a lot longer term than 30 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned Robert Oliver. I follow him. I think I put him up there in my top 5 people I'm making content right now. His content is very captivating, very well done. And when you look at his stuff, you think he's crushing it. And like, I would go and buy that course. But then again, there's that slippery slope for other people where they look good. And like, there's even people that I've met that I see them online and I think of them in this way. And then I meet with them and talk to them and have a conversation. I wouldn't buy their course, or I wouldn't be part of their mentorship. And it is a crazy space, but for you, you've had a really positive experience with that and have had that be one of the main reasons you are in the position you are now.
Yeah, I mean, I bought like, you know, shitty courses like everybody else. I think, like I said, it's about not quitting. I mean, has anyone really like you have to consider yourself very lucky if your first course is just success. Mm-hmm. Like everyone's bought a shit course that I know. So I bought like a $2,000 course like 2 weeks ago. I haven't even opened it yet. Like, so you know what I mean? Like, I think you have to do your due diligence. I think it's kind of a rite of passage at the moment. Like everyone's bought a course that didn't work out for them, whether it was the course or it was them.
Yeah.
I also find that more often than not, it's on the person and not the course. Like there's a reason, you know, if the statistic holds true that 90% of entrepreneurs fail, then the statistic must hold true that 90% of these biz op courses will fail for you.
Yep.
Right. But it's no fault of the course.
It's you.
Right. So that's part of the slippery slope. And then the problem being is that, you know, half of that 90% are going to say it was a scam or it was bullshit or leave a bad review. And then that's what gives the industry kind of a compounding bad name.
Yeah. It's definitely a tough space because you're putting out a really good product, but all of the success is dictated by the person who's actually actioning what they're learning. And that's an uncontrollable factor. You can't control people taking action. You can't tell people that's that quote, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And that's kind of what the course industry sits at.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you know, like I said, my girlfriend runs a very successful info business. So I see the behind the scenes of her. I see the behind the scenes of the 15 different clients we have, businesses. And I just know it's like the logistics on an info business at scale are it's just so detrimental. And I say more of a business, info business, not just a regular info business. It's because people just fucking suck.